Welcome back to the Peak Wealth Podcast. My name is John Perry from Steel Peak Wealth Management. Today, I want to talk a little bit about something I think is very timely. I'm getting a lot of calls from my clients. Election theme voting. With everything going on right now, the debates, the unfortunate events of the last few days, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. A lot of people are asking me what I think will be the right places to invest if Donald Trump wins the election in November. And I think it's important because I think there's definitely some areas where if that in fact does happen and Donald Trump does win the election, I think certain industries obviously will be direct beneficiaries. And I just wanted to spend a few minutes. This is going to be a quick episode. You know, I like to do these little 5-10 minute episodes. I really foresee areas like defense, and those are companies like Lockheed Martin and General Dynamics, energy. Just in general, the Republican Party has always been more favorable when it comes to areas like drilling and energy policy. So those are two areas that I think will be direct beneficiaries of another term by Donald Trump. One of the things to keep in mind, it's not just typically the obvious plays like energy, like defense, which are both typically not, that's not generally just a Donald Trump thing. That's generally what people see as going to do well under a Republican administration. And I think there are other areas, given Trump specifically, that will prosper under another administration led by him. One of those areas, interestingly enough, is cryptocurrency, because Trump is a known proponent of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And I think what you're seeing is more acceptance of those type of investments. I've said this on a recent episode that we recorded. Just this year, the SEC approved Bitcoin spot ETFs like IBIT, which is done by BlackRock. And next down the line, we also have ones that are going to be Ethereum. And I think this is going to continue. And under a Trump administration, I think those type of new technology related, even somewhat a little bit controversial types of areas, investment areas, are going to have a better chance of coming to market and thriving than they would under another Biden administration. And actually, to make things a little interesting today, I'm going to flip-flop things and mention what I think might have some problems under a Trump administration. And one of the ones that really sticks out the most is electric vehicles. Trump has been a known opponent of EVs, as he has stated more than one time that it's a Democratic, on the Democratic agenda, all the charging stations, all of that infrastructure that's being pushed. So you might have a situation where under a Trump administration, and I just got an EV, so I happen to love my car, but I probably wouldn't have gotten it if I didn't have an automatic $7,500 rebate that is available right now for buying EVs. That could go away under a Trump administration. And that's the type of thing that investors should also look at, whether there are some investments that they might hold that are related to that. And there are companies like Ford and GM, and even companies like BMW that have made major pushes into expanding their EV lines. And if something like the EV rebate is discontinued, that could seriously hurt sales of those cars. You've already seen a dip in EV sales in this country. They're still very strong abroad, but you've seen actually a movement back towards hybrids, which again gets some financial rebates, and that also could be removed, or depending on Trump's temperament, he might just go after the EVs, since hybrids are still gas combustion cars with an electronic component. You might see him act more favorably toward EVs, and obviously less favorably towards hybrids, and less favorably toward EVs. So right off the bat, those are a couple of other areas. Another area that might do well under a Trump administration is an area like biotechnology. The Democratic administrations tend to go after the big pharmaceutical companies for pricing. And even though generally overall between the two parties there is still a push to go after pricing, there is certainly a less aggressive push coming from the Republican side than the Democrat side. So I still like the healthcare area, and I still like the biotech area, because under a Republican administration, that's not going to have the same kind of focus that it does under a Democratic administration. The other area, and probably I'll finish with this one, is banks and financial services. Again, that is an area that the Democratic Party or this Democratic administration, like many, has gone after, especially since the financial crisis, and spearheaded in a great degree by Elizabeth Warren. And under Trump's last term, he was much more forgiving to the big banks. He is much more pro-business. So again, another term under Donald Trump will probably see less regulatory scrutiny on the big banks. The other thing we have to keep in mind is that Donald Trump is not a fan of the current Fed Chief Powell. And he has already come out and said when Powell's term is over in 2026, he is not going to nominate him for re-election, bring him back. So he wants somebody in his mind, if he can pull it off, who is much more favorable towards business and the economy. And that's someone who's going to be what they call more of a dove. And a dove is somebody who has a tendency towards keeping interest rates lower, rather than a hawk, which is somebody that wants to keep rates higher and keep money flow tight. So we're approaching the end of 2024, which really would be one more year under Powell. And then if you bring somebody else in who is more inclined to lower rates, or even though they're not supposed to, be more inclined to listen to a President Trump, and lower rates and potentially keep them low and guide the Fed that way, that's very, very productive for certain areas of the market, like growth stocks, like financial services and banks, and also small cap stocks, because small companies do better in a lower interest rate environment as well. So that's a quick overview. I am always happy to go into more details if there's something you want me to expand on in another episode. My email address is john.perry@spwm.com. You can see it on the screen right there. Again, I am a senior wealth advisor with Steel Peak Wealth. We have an office here in Boca and offices throughout the West. And you can find my other episodes on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. So please, if you have any questions, watch our other episodes or reach out to me via email. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.